Hey, how's it going, guys? Mr. Boss for the win here, and in today's GTA 5 video, we're going to be taking a look at a secret trick that'll actually make some of the new vehicles that were added and that you might currently own a whole lot faster. And as sort of a bonus, we'll also be taking a look at a trick you can do to one of the newest sports cars to make it a bit quicker as well. So I'm actually not sure who first discovered this or what group might have first discovered this, but I saw this first presented by MrBossFTW a couple of weeks ago, and I was sort of waiting for the new vehicle to come out, or one of the new vehicles, the Karen Sultan Classic, because I knew it had this same trick as well, and I wanted to see if it also was affected by it. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but in case you're curious, I'll leave a link to his channel in the description so you can check it out if you want. But it actually affects some of the new Casino Heist DLC vehicles. And in case you guys don't know what I'm talking about, back in July with the Diamond Casino and Resort update, Rockstar added this cool feature to a handful of new vehicles. It was a suspension upgrade that as you went down the list in the suspension category and as you got closer to competitive, the vehicle would start to sort of camber a bit. And that's that effect you see where not only the car itself lowers, but you can also see the wheels sort of start to tilt outward. That's the cambering effect. And we're even doing this now with the Karen Sultan Classic right here to show you that it indeed does have that new effect. And up until this point, I had just assumed that this was Rockstar sort of adding another quality of life change to many of the new vehicles that were introduced. Because this is something that players were actually having to do, trying to stance and camber their cars on their own by either shooting the center of the rim and trying to sort of lower the car manually. It was really weird, like the entire process that players were going about doing it. And so I'd always just thought that, 6 years later, this was just Rockstar's response to that. They were finally adding like a way to, normally camber and sort of stance your cars in the Los Santos custom shop. But it turns out that this actually has a bigger impact on performance than we might have originally thought. And from the Diamond Casino Heist, it looks like it actually affects 3 of the new vehicles that have been released so far. Well, 4 if you count the Karen Sultan Classic, which we'll actually get at the end. So I'm sure this was obvious, but the only vehicles that this has an impact on are the ones that get affected by this new suspensions. So the ones that actually have the camber effect on them. And the first one is the new Maxwell Asbo, this compact car. This is one of the handful of vehicles that released on day 1 with the Diamond Casino Heist. And honestly, when I was recording this video, I think this was the second time I had ever driven this car. The first time was on day 1 when I bought it for the first time, so I don't really drive this vehicle all that much, but I'm sure some of you guys do, and you'll notice that it's kind of wonky with its performance. It's not incredibly fast, accelerates well, doesn't handle all that great. However, as we bring this into the Los Santos custom shop, you guys can see there that by going down the suspension from stock, lowered, street, sport, and competitive, that it does have that cambered effect. And doing this is actually going to make the car perform a lot better. Now, it's not something like an engine upgrade or a transmission upgrade or turbo where it's physically going to make the car faster, but it's going to allow the vehicle to handle a lot better. And because of that, it's going to perform quicker going from point A to point B. If you're using this to go in and around the city, or if you're using this in a compact race, you're going to notice that because it likely will handle the corners a little bit better, that you'll not only see an improvement in your lap time if for whatever reason you're using this vehicle, but again, you'll likely have a smoother ride in free roam. And what's weird is in real life, this is kind of contradictory to what something like this would actually do. If you were to apply this camber suspension to a car in real life, it would not have this effect at all. In fact, it would kind of have the opposite. Now, I'm definitely not a car expert, that's for sure, but I know since all the vehicles start with stock suspension, that's sort of your default, and I would imagine somewhere in the middle, like street suspension, would probably be where you get the best balance between having the look you want and also the performance you get. Well, going down to the competitive suspension when the vehicle has this camber effect, that I believe is going too far and would actually have a counter effect. But anyways, that's the first vehicle right there, the Maxwell Asbo. The next vehicle that is affected by this is the Vapid Retinue Mark II. And this has the exact same effect. Again, if you were to bring this into the Los Santos custom shop, you would be able to apply the competitive camber suspension. And just like the Asbo, it has the exact same effect. It's going to handle better. You're going to notice it's a little bit smoother, which is weird. And personally, I don't love the look of this cambered suspension. For me personally, it's not the look that I would choose to put on vehicles. However, it's hard to argue with the facts here, and that is that it does help these vehicles perform a little bit better. I think at least on the Vapid Retinue Mark II, it's a little bit less noticeable that you have the cambered suspension just because it already is naturally a more wide body vehicle, so it sort of hides the tires a little bit more. So this one I thought actually looked a little bit better than the Maxwell Asbo. And the final one, at least from the Diamond Casino Heist, is, for whatever reason, an SUV, the Ubermacht Rebla GTS. And it can also have the cambered suspension, which I think just looks really awkward. Again, this is like the second time I've ever driven this vehicle. And again, just like the first two vehicles that we looked at, it's going to have an effect where it makes the vehicle smoother, a little bit easier to drive, handles corners a little bit better. This one, at least in my opinion, I noticed the least amount of effect on. I'm not sure if that's accurate or not, or just in my experience, that's what I was able to notice. I'm not really driving this car all that much to begin with, but there you go. And getting on to the new vehicle that was added today, the Karen Sultan Classic, how we were talking about it earlier, yes, it has that same camber competitive suspension that you can apply. However, with this vehicle, and according to reports, it doesn't actually have the same effect where it makes the vehicle any quicker. And that's the case with a handful of the other cars that were added in the Diamond Casino and Resort update, the one back in July. There's actually a handful of vehicles from that update that function the exact same way, that have this cambered suspension option, and applying it doesn't necessarily make it any quicker, faster, easy to drive. And I think that's the case here with the Karen Sultan Classic. So you can do it if you want, but just know that it will be primarily just for cosmetics and looks. Now, as sort of a bonus to this video, it also turns out that there's a trick you can do with the vehicle that Rockstar released last week, the Overflawed Immorgon, which is like a hydrogen electric hybrid sports car. It's very weird. It's actually a pretty quick vehicle. It doesn't have great top speed, but that's something you expect from electric vehicles. Well, one of the things you might have noticed about this vehicle when you were customizing it in the Los Santos custom shop is it doesn't have a turbo option, a lot like a lot of the other electric vehicles in the game. They don't have turbo options. And what's interesting is using the iFruit app, you can actually apply a turbo on here. Now, in the past, with previous electric vehicles, if you were to apply a turbo to an electric car, it wouldn't stick with the vehicle outside of the free roam session that you applied it in. So if you went to a race or another lobby, the turbo would vanish. Well, on the Overflawed Immorgon, it looks like it sticks with this car for whatever reason, making it a little bit quicker. So in order to do this, all you have to do is use the iFruit app. I'm sure you guys know how to go about doing this by now. And you want to find the Overflawed Immorgon. And once you've found the Overflawed Immorgon, what you want to do is go down all the way to the bottom and apply turbo tuning. So on the iFruit app, turbo tuning is available, but in the Los Santos custom shop in game, turbo tuning is not available. And what I also did to show you guys that this actually works so that you can see something physical and tangible change is I changed the rims on this car. So you'll actually see those upgrade as well. So what you want to do is just confirm your order. My total was $53,000. It'll say order was sent successfully. And then in game, you should see an alert that says, the order is ready. And all you have to do is pull it into the Los Santos custom shop. And you guys can see there, the wheels changed. And so that means that my order was successful. And now the Overflawed Immorgon has a turbo on it. Even though traditionally in the Los Santos custom shop, you aren't allowed to apply a turbo. And so what this does is it's going to affect the top speed a little bit, even though, like I mentioned a bit ago, the top speed on these electric vehicles, not all that great. But what this is going to do is going to affect the acceleration, which is already lightning quick. So if you thought the overflotted Morgan was quick before, with this little turbo trick, now you can make it ultra fast. And it's the only electric vehicle, at least that we know of so far, that actually works with applying a turbo on it from the iFruit app. Now, again, keep in mind, because this is a little bit of a glitch, there's a chance that Rockstar will want to try and patch this soon, if that's even something that they can. So I would take advantage of this sooner rather than later. I wouldn't wait a couple of weeks, because by then it might be too late. But that is how you can apply a turbo to the new overflawed Immorgon sports car that Rockstar introduced last week, making it ultra quicker than the one without the turbos that you wouldn't normally be able to apply in the Los Santos custom shop. But anyways, that's all the information that I've got for you guys in this video today. Hopefully you did enjoy. I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments down below. What do you think of these two tricks that you can apply to some of the new vehicles in-game and that were added in the Diamond Casino Heist update to make them quicker and faster? I'd love to hear from you guys down there. If you guys did go to enjoy this video, though, a like rating would, of course, be awesome. And be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you are new, or you want to stay up to date on all the latest GTA and Red Dead Redemption videos that I'm doing here on my channel. And be sure to ring that notification bell as well. Sometimes YouTube just doesn't work, and if you ring that bell, you'll always be guaranteed to be notified when new videos arrive. But of course, as always, guys, thank you all so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.